Hey everyone, this is Paul Hawksworth of Canon U.S.A. And I'm excited to be here with Production Hub to talk to you about the new EOS C70. Now the C70 is kind of a little bit of a dream camera for me because what it does is it's combining all the full features of our Cinema EOS line into a brand new unibody design that's a lot smaller and a lot lighter than any of our cinema cameras before. The size and weight of this thing is just incredible, and the way it feels in the hand, and especially for the single shooter, is really unique in the cinema industry. So that's very exciting. But I think the thing that most gets me about this camera is that it uses the exact same sensor as the C300 Mark III. So Cinema EOS, we just introduced the C300 Mark III recently, and it's been doing really well. But that camera has a sensor called the dual gain output sensor. And what's really special about this is that the way that this sensor processes images is that we're able to expand our dynamic range to over 16 stops of latitude. And so with this C70, a much smaller camera, using that exact same sensor, we're also able to get 16 plus stops of latitude into that camera as well. So you can really see where these two cameras are really, kind of fit really well for each other, especially on set. The big difference between the C300 and the C70 is that whereas the C300 Mark III can shoot internal RAW, the C70 is using XF-AVC, which is Canon, the Cinema EOS's proud codec. It is a 10-bit 422 codec, but it can record it in the same frame rates as the C300 Mark III, which is great. That means you get full sensor 4K up to 120 frames per second. And if you decide to go in and crop that sensor down to 2K, you can go up to 180 frames per second. So some really great frame rates out of that. On top of that, you get the same dual pixel autofocus from the C300 Mark III in the EOS C70 at the same frame rates, as well as the same electronic image stabilization. And this has been put into our C500 Mark II and our C300 Mark III, and now it's in the EOS C70. So with a very slight crop, you get some excellent image stabilization. And this is where I'm going to bring it right to the lens mount, because on top of having excellent electronic image stabilization, we are sporting an RF mount on this camera. So this is the first Cinema EOS camera that uses an RF mount. And one of the big things about that is that the RF lenses have much greater communication with the actual processor of the camera. Because there's just so much more information thrown through the 12 pins of the RF mount. And so with that in mind, this is the first Cinema EOS camera that actually has what's called coordinated image stabilization. So that means that there's talkback between the lens and the image stabilization software of the camera. So you're going to get a much cleaner, much more focused image stabilization out of the EOS C70 than you may even get out of the EOS C300 Mark III. So that's really exciting for us. From a usability standpoint, when it comes to this camera, something that we've put into it is an integrated touchscreen LCD. So if you're familiar with the C500 Mark II or the C300 Mark III, you'll know that we've had a touchscreen LCD, but it's been limited to just the dual pixel autofocus. So you touch the screen and you can focus there. For this one though, we've included our new what we're calling the direct touch menu system. And so this is really unique because this allows us to control all the high level functions of the camera directly from the touchscreen, and it is fast. So all of your settings like ISO, shutter speed, white balance, ND filters, all of those can be controlled right from the touchscreen. On top of that, all of the higher functions such as frame rates and your codec and your gamma and your color space can all be changed right there without having to go into the main menu at all. So it makes production a lot faster than having to go into a menu, scroll through all of those different pages and trying to find what you need, or even having to program an assignable button, which this camera has 13 assignable buttons on it with over 80 different functions that you can assign to them. So for a camera this size, that's quite unique. Finally, something that really warms my heart about this camera, and it's from a complete usability standpoint, is the boot up time. This camera boots up so quickly. From going from completely off to on is under 3 seconds. It's the fastest I've ever seen in a Cinema EOS product before. So that means that you don't have to worry about turning off your camera and then missing the shot because it's going to boot up so much faster. So I'm really excited about the EOS C70. Big fan of it so far, and coming in at $54.99, it's a great price for you to get into Cinema EOS. Thank you. So if you want to know more about the EOS C70 or any of our Cinema EOS products, come to our website, eosa.canon.com.